Part 1. Rising Tensions. The autumn of 2025 was set to be remembered as a challenging period in world politics. Tensions in the eastern Mediterranean were escalating rapidly, driven by disputes over energy resources and the regional power balance. Turkey was determined to protect its economic interests and sovereign rights, while Israel was equally committed to safeguarding its security and energy interests in the same region. Both countries laid claim to the eastern Mediterranean, but the tension extended beyond economics, carrying significant political and military implications. Turkey's natural gas exploration activities in the region were perceived as a threat by Israel, which responded by increasing its military presence under the pretext of protecting strategic sea routes and coastal security. The Turkish media portrayed these developments as a major national issue, with the public demanding a firm stance from the government. In Israel, a similar situation was unfolding. The public believed that the government should respond swiftly and decisively to any threat to their security. Part 2. The spark of conflict. In mid-November, a Turkish warship patrolling the disputed waters of the eastern Mediterranean was closely followed by the Israeli Navy. Israel claimed that the Turkish ship had entered its territorial waters and fired warning shots. The Turkish ship ignored the warnings and continued its course, prompting the Israeli ship to retaliate with heavier weapons, leading to a brief skirmish. This incident pushed the tension between the two countries to a point of no return. Turkey condemned Israel's aggression, declaring it a casus belli, an act of war. Israel, on the other hand, insisted that it was exercising its right to self-defense. In response to the incident, Turkey increased its naval presence in the region, deploying warships and submarines to strategic locations. Meanwhile, large-scale military exercises began in the airspace. Israel responded similarly by strengthening its air defense systems and deploying additional air forces to the region. Part 3. The beginning of war. By early December, tensions had reached their peak. Israel launched a direct missile attack on a military base in Iskenderiye, located on Turkey's southern coast. The attack severely damaged the base and resulted in the loss of many soldiers' lives. This attack was the final straw for Turkey. The Turkish Air Force immediately retaliated, launching comprehensive air operations against strategic military targets in southern Israel. The operation extended as far as Israel's Dimona nuclear facility, though the facility's well-protected defense systems prevented significant damage. Tel Aviv went into a state of emergency. The public retreated to shelters, and all flights in the city were cancelled. Meanwhile, Israel's Iron Dome defense system neutralized many of the incoming Turkish missiles, though some struck urban areas, causing widespread destruction. Similar scenes unfolded in Turkey. Ankara and Istanbul braced for potential airstrikes, with citizens directed to shelters. In the early days of the war, both sides suffered heavy losses, and fear and uncertainty quickly spread among the populations. Part 4. The frontline battle. During this time, intense fighting broke out not only in the air, but also on the ground. Turkey launched a ground offensive against Israel from the Syrian border. Various militia groups in Syria declared their readiness to fight alongside Turkey. These Turkish-backed groups attempted to infiltrate Israeli territory through the Golan Heights. The Israeli military responded with a large-scale operation, deploying ground forces and tanks to the area, pushing back the Turkish-backed groups. As the clashes intensified, both sides continued to incur heavy casualties. On the maritime front, the Turkish Navy targeted Israel's offshore oil platforms in the Mediterranean. Israel retaliated with submarines and warships trying to repel the Turkish forces. The naval battles resulted in significant losses for the naval forces of both countries. Part 5. International Intervention. On the 5th day of the conflict, global concerns began to mount. The United Nations, the United States, Russia, and European Union leaders urgently called for peace talks between the two countries. However, the situation on the ground suggested that it was too early for peace. Both sides were unwilling to come to the table without first gaining an upper hand. Meanwhile, the conflict's impact extended beyond the two countries involved. Neighboring countries like Lebanon, Syria, and Egypt began to feel the effects of the situation. In Lebanon, Hezbollah launched attacks against Israel, prompting Israeli airstrikes on Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. This further escalated the regional tension. The United States, Russia, and China, among other major powers, deployed warships to the eastern Mediterranean, displaying their military might. However, this only complicated the situation further, raising the risk of a broader conflict. Part 6. Search for a diplomatic solution. Eventually, the intense international pressure began to take effect. On the 7th day of the conflict, the leaders of Turkey and Israel came together through secret mediation efforts. The negotiations were tense and difficult, with both sides wanting to find a solution without losing face. During the talks, Turkey and Israel both maintained a firm stance on protecting their regional interests, security concerns, and rights in the eastern Mediterranean. However, the prolonged conflict was taking a toll on both countries, economies, and their people. This realization led the leaders to adopt a more moderate approach. Finally, an agreement was reached that both sides could accept. The ceasefire agreement included provisions for reducing military presence in the disputed waters and establishing an international commission to oversee the sharing of energy resources. Part 7. The aftermath of war. After the ceasefire was declared, the scars of war were felt for a long time in both countries. Israel suffered significant damage to its infrastructure, with its cities bearing the brunt of the attacks. Turkey, too, suffered substantial losses, both militarily and economically. Hatred and hostility among the people of both countries. This conflict once again highlighted how fragile the balance of power in the region was. It was a harsh reminder that diplomacy and peace must always be the priority. With the intervention of the international community, a fragile peace period began between Turkey and Israel. However, deep-seated distrust and animosity lingered between the two nations. The war had sown seeds of lasting. This video is pure fiction. The events in the video have nothing to do with reality. Our wish is for the world to be always at peace.